Hi, David Lashar here, your Libertarian candidate for Maryland governor, with my friend from New York, Larry Sharpe. And what we are going to be discussing is a libertarian approach to reparations for the Black community. Let's start with the introductions. Larry, you want to introduce yourself, please?
I am Larry Sharpe, running for governor of New York State for my second time. I'm either crazy or stupid or something, but I just keep doing it. Yes, I keep doing it. Born and raised here in New York City, grew up as a little kid in the Bronx and as an older kid on Long Island, joined the Marine Corps at 17, teacher, entrepreneur, Marine, and now a consultant in business and in life.
Great. Thanks, Larry. It's a privilege to have you aboard helping with the ideas here. And as people who've been following the campaign know, I'm David Lashar, an IT executive with experience in the federal and state government, living in Annapolis and offering bold ideas for a better Maryland. Let's move on to the topic, though, which is reparations for the Black community. Very controversial subject, right? Right,
Yes.
Larry? You've given a lot of thought to it. When I heard your ideas, I said, I'm in. These are my ideas as well. So let's hear them from you.
They're controversial because a lot of people, when they hear it, they immediately take a stance aggressively, right? One way or the other. Like, yes, you owe me. I want money. Or I don't owe you anything. You should get nothing. You really get a lot of people really upset both sides of the coin. I think you're right. It's very controversial, which is why most people don't want to touch it.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that I know I like your approach is that it helps settle that controversy down, right? It doesn't pick at lingering resentments, right? It's,
correct,
I think, a very practicable way forward. So let's talk about the scope. I mean, first of all, before what it is, there's always scope. Is this everybody who's in the Black community? Is this ad infinitum? Well, what's the scope here, Larry?
Yeah, the first thing is you want to try to the best of your ability to get the best outcome you can get, the fairest outcome you can get. It's not going to be perfect no matter what. So here's the best bet. You want to find people who are African descendants of slaves. That's who is the recipient of this. And they have to figure it out somehow through documentation. And we've done this before when it comes to Native Americans, right? We have rules on Native Americans. I think the rule is, and I may be off on this, if you're 1/16 Native American, you are still considered Native American. After that, the US government no longer considers you Native American. So we would find a rule for that. Is it 1/8? Is it 1/16? Whatever is the rule, we would create a rule that says that, and you find out through your lineage, exactly who you are, and if you've done this, and you literally put yourself on a roster the same way that the Native Americans have done it. You put yourself on a roster. I am now officially on the US roster, recognized by the American government as an African descendant of slaves. I am X percentage, whatever is the percentage that we agree upon. That's who will get it. So some new person coming from Africa, from Nigeria, will not get it, right? Or some other person who say, to be forward, Barack Obama wouldn't get it. He is not a descendant of slaves, so he wouldn't get it, right? But only someone who was an actual African descendant of slaves would be eligible in the first place. But the second piece, how long? Is this forever? Is this a one-time hit? I know a lot of people want a one-time hit. I have not been a fan of that for several reasons. Number one, if I do a one-time hit, then I look at what happens when people win the lottery. When people win a lottery with one big chunk of money, within 5 years, over half of them are worse off than they were when they started, and about 1/3 or more actually go bankrupt. Why would I want to do that to my community? I don't want to punish my community, right? Now, would some people excel? Some people would, but the majority are going to be worse off. That's not the goal. This is one of the reasons why I'm against the one-time hit. Second piece, well, Larry, you could just make it where it's like an annuity where they just keep getting paid for a certain amount of time. You could do that if you wanted to, but once you do that, then what winds up happening? Well, all of a sudden now I have the vulture capitalists coming in and buying that up. And you see it now. You want your money now, you've got a structured settlement, I'll buy it up. So now wealthy venture capitalists come in. The vast majority of them, not African descendant slaves, will come in, take your annuity, and just give you a one-time fee. I'm in the same spot, but now I made a bunch of vulture capitalists wealthy. That's why I'm kind of not for those two types. What I would like to do is instead change how the system works, systemic change, how the system works for at least one generation. I would consider 2 generations, depending upon what the actual outcome is, but I think 1 generation is the right answer. Why do I pick generation? Because the biggest issue in the Black community is generational wealth. That's the big, of all the issues, many of them, but the biggest one is generational wealth. So we have to deal with a generation at least, if not 2. A generation, depending upon who you talk to, is about 23 years. You could go higher, 25, lower, 19, depends. If you go lower, maybe go 2 generations. Maybe go 2 19-year generations or 1 25-year generation, or whatever the case may be. But you pick a specific time. Why? I want it to be over. I want us to be able to say, done. We have done the thing. And now it's taken care of. So that's why I want it to be either 1 generation or 2. Years can change or shift. So what happens during that generation? Number 1, any property owned by any African descendant of slaves, 50% or more, any property is immune from all property tax, period. No property tax. If it is 50% or more owned by African descendants of slaves. Why does that matter? This is why this has to actually happen probably at a national level, because it has to be a national law that will override all state and local property taxes. So it probably has to happen at the national level because of that. It would say, no, if 51% or more, no property tax. Why? 2 things will happen. Number 1, now it will encourage the Black community to buy property, number 1. But not just that, it's 51% or more ownership. It doesn't mean I live there, so I pick up my token Black people. No, it means ownership. So that means now I'm some company, some LLC that now wants to buy a bunch of properties. What's the first thing I'm gonna think of? Where are my Black friends? First thing I'm gonna think. So now I'm gonna try to get Black people into my company, ownership. Black people into ownership. It's gonna encourage people to voluntarily integrate, which is what I want. I want to encourage people to voluntarily integrate. Now, Black people could say, I don't want any white friends. All Black people own. That's fine too. You're not required, right? Up to you. You can do it yourself if you want to, or you can bring other people in. If your white or Asian or Hispanic friend happens to have more money, invite them in to join you in this venture to purchase property. But it isn't just private property. It could also be commercial property. Now, when it comes to commercial property, we're talking apartment buildings that are worth billions of dollars. It's a lot of tax that they're going to be able to give up on. And we see it happening already when we look at minority and women-owned businesses and contrast with the government. We see we want to bring a bunch of Black businesses into the world. I want to bring Black businesses, Black investors, Black people in general into this world so that they can gain everything they haven't gained over the course of generations. They can begin to gain it, right? So that's why I think a property piece is critical. It encourages all those things. It will encourage integration and it'll encourage them to be able to get in that world. I'm not done. Also, any business that is 50% or more owned by African descendant of slaves will also pay no business tax. I'm sorry, that's half. Sorry, half business, half. Sorry, half. Sorry, half. Not
You got it.
Half. Apologize, half. Half business tax, right? So all cut in half. Everything's cut in half. If everything's cut in half, all of a sudden now we start seeing, wait a minute. So if I want to just keep my business, I can. But now if I just invite people of color, meaning African descendant slaves, to join, I'm going to get a bit of an advantage. I'm going to encourage integration and encourage property and business ownership and entrepreneurship in the Black community. That's what I'm going to do for at least 1 generation. But I'm still not done. If I want to transfer any property, whatever that property is, any wealth, whatever that wealth is, from someone within my family, one African descendant of slaves to another African descendant of slaves, no tax. Do it for free. No fees, no fines. If there are fees and fines, then the state picks it up, or the bank picks it up, or the government picks it up. I don't care. Someone else picks it up, not them. Now, the push I get back is always the same thing. But Larry, if we do this, everyone else's taxes will go up because these people will be paying half tax on everything. And when it comes to transferring wealth, no tax. And my argument is they shouldn't at all for 2 reasons. One, the African descendant of slaves population is less than 12% of the population in America in general. So it isn't a large chunk of our population anyway. So the number of people doing transactions will be a minor amount. In theory, we'll be losing the tax base. But on top of that, it should spur tons of business growth and joining and selling and buying and commerce back and forth, which should increase the tax base in general. So I'll get more commerce going in general, right? And the percentage of people who are actually African descendant slaves are less than 12% of our population anyway. So it should not affect the tax base at all in that regard. It should just give benefits and bonuses. So, but again, it gets people to start thinking, let me make this work. Now I know the pushback I get is, but Larry, what if I don't want to own a business? What if I don't want to? You don't have to, no worries. People want you to be part of owning property anyway, and you'll be encouraged to do so. But Larry, what about my older grandma who's never going to get involved in a business? Great. You can transfer wealth to her all you want. It's up to you, right? And it's free. Transfer whatever wealth to her you feel appropriate that will help your grandma out to make her, put her in a better spot. Or grandma could buy it, put her in charge, and when she passes, she gives to you for free. It doesn't matter either way. So mix and match within your family. Again, I'm encouraging the Black family. I'm encouraging integration. I'm encouraging property ownership. I'm encouraging entrepreneurship. I'm encouraging all the things that were lost in the Black community for literally hundreds of years because of government rules, government regulations, systemic racism against the Black population. So I'm trying to undo that direct damage while still making things positive for everybody. And if you don't want to engage, if you're some guy who says, I don't care about the Black community, I just want to run my business, just run your business. You're not affected. Run your business. You don't have to.
Right, not obligatory.
Not obligatory. You don't have to. It's good. You're someone who's Black, who's made it and goes, I don't care about this stuff. Great. Change nothing. You don't have to. Do nothing. I don't actually mind at all. But there's something else we have to do on top of this. We also have to end the war on drugs completely, because of all the things that have crushed the Black community in the past 50 years, the war on drugs has been the worst, right? It has absolutely been the worst that has just crushed it. It's taken the Black father out of the family. It's destroyed Black entrepreneurship. It has devastated the ability to get work. It has made nothing but, it's literally murdered Black young men. It has devastated the community more than anything. So what do? End the war on drugs, and any possession charges from any drug possession charge has to be expunged, expelled, to not exist. Possession should have never been a crime, so it should not be a crime. All those charges should be completely just dismissed. And then for possession or selling. Look, if you shot somebody or you robbed somebody, that's different. That's still a crime. But if you were selling something, so what? People sell alcohol. They're not going to jail for that. You can possess alcohol. You're not going to jail for that. So that shit needs to go away immediately. And then if you do that, that's for everybody though, right? So even if you happen to be a white guy, Hispanic guy who got in trouble, you're helped. But percentage-wise, that's going to help African descendant slaves far more than any other group, any other population in our country will help them more. So end the war on drugs help everybody, but it will absolutely help the African descendant slaves more than anybody else. So we have to make sure we do that. The last thing we want to work on with this is changing how school funding works. What we're doing is we're trying to fund the right schools the right way, and we've been failing for decades. And the school system has been failing the African American community for decades. We're going to make a very simple change, and that is money follows the kid. And the goal is not grades. The goal isn't standardized testing the government likes. The goal is parents being satisfied, right? Are the parents satisfied? Literally, if parents are happy, they can put their kid in this school. If they're not happy, they go to a different school. Parents being happy and satisfied is the critical piece, allowing their kids the education they want to get. And the money that goes to that kid should follow that kid regardless of whatever school that their parent wants to put them in. We make those things happen over the course of 23 years or whatever is the number. Here's what I promise will happen. You will have more voluntary integration, guaranteed. It happens all the time. How do I know that? It happened in the South after they ended segregation. Once you end government programming, people integrate. That simply happens all the time. So it will happen. So there will be more voluntary integration. Not just that, there'll be more people taking ownership mentality within the Black community. I know that will happen because it was happening until literally the government came and started breaking up and destroying Black communities that created their own communities, right? So we know that will happen. It already does. It will happen again. When that begins to happen, you're gonna have better educated Black community, a more ownership mindset Black community, entrepreneur mindset Black community, property owners, win-win-win for everybody, and understanding to transfer wealth, meaning you're thinking longer term, you're thinking about your community, you're thinking about your family, everything will get better. But here's the best part of it all. After 23 years, you have a bunch of people who've gone to business with Black people and are going to say, I don't want my taxes to go back up. I like my taxes being low. Hey, why don't we make this half thing permanent for everybody now? And the government will do so because people will fight about it. Black people will fight about it. White people will fight about it. Everyone will fight about it. We'll bring it back down. Everyone gets a tax break, 50%. So now what's the white guy going? Thanks, Black people. Thank you for my tax break. That's what I want you to say.
Right.
I would love you to say that. Hey, Black people, thank you for my tax break. You guys are great. Yeah, we are. You're welcome. That's what I would like. I think if we make that happen, it's a system that I know doesn't make everybody happy. I'm aware of that. But it satisfies most people. People who are unhappy with reparations completely, who don't want it, when they hear this go, fine, all right, yeah, whatever. They can begrudgingly accept it. And people who want a big check realize they're probably not going to get a big check. So they will accept this because they realize the alternative is probably nothing. The odds of this country writing a big check to everybody, I think, is slim. So you have nothing or this. And if you don't want reparations, you'll accept this. This becomes a system that most people will accept.
Larry, I think it's brilliant. Of the three ideas, reparations, money follows the kid or the student, right? And ending the war on drugs. Two of the three have been part of my platform since the outset of this campaign. Right?
Here we go.
But
Yes.
those are 2 out of 3 big, bold ideas for bringing about a better Baltimore and a better Maryland. But now we've got a third. We've got a third idea. And what I love about it, why this resonated so much with me when I heard about it just late summer, early fall, was one, what you were getting to at the end there, Larry, which is that this is practical, not fantastical, right?
Yes.
This can actually be done, right? And the other thing that I like about it is that it is all about empowerment, not punishment, right?
Yes.
And that's how we create a better community for everyone, right? So school choice, but money follows the children, ending the war on drugs. But now a libertarian approach to reparations is one of my planks as your libertarian option for governor here in Maryland. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving me the inspiration, Larry.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.